Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today I'll be covering Copra #1 from Image Comics. If you've watched any of my episodes in the past, you'll know that generally speaking I don't read a lot of modern or new comics. I prefer older Bronze Age stuff. But Copra is sort of the one exception to that. I discovered it through my fandom and love of the classic Suicide Squad comic from DC. Copra began as an independently published comic in 2012 by author and creator Michel Fiffe. He self-published 400 copies of the first issue. They're very hard to find. And since then, he's just been rolling along. Doing his thing, publishing Copra, developing the many characters he's created in the book. And in 2019, rather than do everything himself, he decided to have an experiment where he partnered with Image, and Image for 6 issues published the book. He still did all of the work, all the creation, everything. Every aspect of every issue of Copra is Michel Fiffe. That's another thing that's cool in that sense. He does everything: colors, letters, pencils, inks, story, everything. But he wanted to take a break in 2019 and focus just on the creation, and so Image handled the publishing for 6 issues. So he started the numbering over at that point with the Image series. So this is a particularly good issue to cover and to maybe encourage people to pick up, because it'll be a little easier to find as a single issue comic. And it also contains some cool summary stuff in it that'll help bring you up to speed, because there is a lot going on in Copra comics, and they can be sometimes a little inscrutable, a little hard to follow, especially for a new reader. But the reward is pretty high if you do stick with it and get into it. Michel Fiffe's style is unique and sometimes challenging. It's not your standard comic book fare, but I love it, and I wanted to share it on the show. So here we have Copra #1, the Image edition, and we have our main protagonists on the cover here. Gracie, Lloyd, Rax, Guthy, and and then these, and there's Chongo in the background there. These other characters are some of their foes that have temporarily joined with them. And we're going to get a quick summary here as we open up the inside front cover. Is a really cool design. Created, written, penciled, inked, colored, lettered, produced by Michel Fiffe. So we have Gracie, the hand-to-hand combat and looks. Lloyd, expert marksman, the face of revenge. Guthy, godlike strength, still likes guns. Power armor control. Rax, psychokinetically weaponized vest. Castillo, broke bounty hunter. Zoe, razor sharp mercenary. Chongo, knuckles of glory. Dai, shapeshifter, ex-crime boss. Bianca, otherworldly cop. Her planet was destroyed. And then Sonia is the head honcho and founder of Copra. And Castillo is a trainer and the second in command of Copra. And he's got an interesting story and will be a major part of this issue coming up here. So that's our initial cast for this issue. And so we start out, Copra is enjoying a post-mission breather before heading back home. They're taking up several rooms in Miami, the Motel Luke, and then this is room 101. So here, one of the neat things about Copra is the characters have a lot of human interactions, a lot of like normal stuff that's woven into the super mayhem that's going on around them. And Gracie's relating a story as the issue opens up. I turned around and bam, there he was, busted me trying to eat a cold bagel from his fridge. I was so embarrassed. Why were you over at your high school German teacher's house to begin with? Free weed. he was more into my buddy Max anyway. I just tagged along. So again, this is the kind of interactions that you get in and amongst the super mayhem that's going to go on. So these four are holed up in this hotel room, and Guthy and who are romantically involved, are in an adjoining room. But things are not going well in there because we see Castillo has arrived, and he is not who they thought he was. Apparently, something terrible has gone on with Castillo, and he is now trying to kill them. So our title is End of Complications. So this is Guthy. Now a lot of the characters in Copra are inspired or kind of representations of characters you might have seen or known in other comics from the 80s and 90s. And Guthy is kind of a character inspired by Duchess or Lashina from the Suicide Squad. She is my favorite member of Copra. But here she's under assault, and here's Whir on the ground. He's already been shot in the arm. And as we go through here, Piva does incredible things with lettering, with sound effects. And here we have this cool little word balloon with a thunderbolt and a cloud as Jaquillo clicks on his mask. In the adjoining room, they can hear what's going on. Was that, if you and yours are responsible for this? Come on, I think that was Guthy's room. So these two were just recently Copra's adversaries, but they were sort of captured and press ganged into Copra in the previous storyline, and so we're sort of picking things up in media res here. Meanwhile, in another adjoining room, the remaining members of our cast are holed up. There's Rax, who is, think Shay the Changing Man. His erstwhile partner, Bianca, and Dai, who is one of their greatest foes, a shapeshifter, who's in a much more normal form than she normally is. All right, so desperate to end the shooting and get a break so she can get to her own weapon, the superhumanly powerful Guthy grabs Whir's helmet and hurls it at Castillo, striking him in the head here. Again, great use of a sound effect there, clang, worked in with the pencil action here. And Rax says, in case Chongo comes to or Dai wanders off, you have the gun. Let me just make sure that everyone's out there, everyone's okay out there. But everyone's really not okay. So here, Guthy's throw hits Castillo in the head, and he says, pretty good arm, Princess, but it doesn't seem to stop him or slow him down. As the other crew round the corner to that room, awesome panel here, Castillo is blown out. The colors, I love the muted color palette that Piva uses throughout this issue and most of his issues. As a lot of interesting, cool color choices are made, and the color is every bit as impactful as the art style in my mind. So they are trying to get the word on what's going on with Guthy, and then they realize that this guy's Castillo. So she's running up. This guy won't stop. I'll run the distraction, set Guthy up to fire again. So she's gonna come, and Zoe, she's gonna drive her sword into Castillo's head here, which you'd think would stop him, but no such luck. He says, you almost ruined my good side. And that's when Zoe realizes it's Castillo. But Guthy knows it's not really him, but Zoe's distracted, and so he backhands her out of the way. And Rax is observing what's going on. I'll need that weapon after all. At this point, I would rather get shot than have to see Bianca's "I told you so" face. So Castillo here, pretty jacked up from the attack, but still moving. And here's Lloyd, who is very close to DC's Deadshot, another homage character. And Jaquillo, thinking that Castillo was here to free them, because he was Zoe and Jaquillo's partner, takes out Lloyd from behind, turns on him. "Sorry, brother, but your pretty little head still has a price on it." And Rax is going back to get the gun, and Dai and Bianca are gone. So here, Jaquillo's running up. "Boss man, you didn't tell us you were meeting us here." And now she says Guthy cannot get a clear shot because Castillo's still holding Zoe. And Castillo suddenly whips Zoe around and strikes Jaquillo with him. And great panel here where we kind of see their character representations outlined behind them, but the characters rush forward into melee. And Guthy is, as I said, superhumanly powerful, so she's able to battle the cybernetic Castillo in close combat. Another great here use of a sound effect melded in with the art, pow. And cool sequence here, who was in the other room and initially shot by Castillo, is kind of bleeding out. And he sees these images flash before him of his life as he's looking out at the action going on. And it's kind of a neat way to show like his life is trickling away, but he's going through these memories of his childhood, early adulthood, working with his uncle to build his battle armor. Meanwhile, out here, Rax grabs Chongo, who was also in room 103. "You must tell me, Chongo, where my wife went. Then we can help out the others. Where is everyone?" So everyone is suddenly gone. "Now you show up from off panel," Lloyd says as he recovers from being temporarily knocked unconscious. "Must have been busy." So yeah, somehow the other combatants, Guthy, Castillo, Gracie, were spirited away. Here, Gracie was knocked out. So not far from the motel, Bianca and the sort of out of it Dai have run away. Bianca's kind of making her go with her. We're better off without them for now. So Bianca was estranged from Rax at some point in the previous storyline, and so she wants no part of him. This world is not familiar to her. She's from another dimension that was destroyed. Rax is as well, and so she's kind of at loose ends because she doesn't belong on Earth. She doesn't really know where to go. She's really upset at Rax because he was considered to be a rogue. And so she's sort of struggling to figure out what to do next. And so here we have an interlude, an exclusive club for exclusive men. Once the intruder came in, I got the hell out of there. I hid in a pipe for hours, naked, before going back upstairs. Sounds disturbing. What are we doing about the bodies? 1 or 2 we can cover, but a dozen? We'll deal with it after tomorrow's final meeting. So this is a subplot that will pay off later. Here we have an interdimensional interlude. These are 2 characters who are related to Guthy. So it just says simply elsewhere. And it's neat how we go from the standard white background page, and this interlude we have these yellow background pages. And then back on Earth, we have Flo, one of the support team for Copra. She's talking to this guy. Jessica just canceled. Our flight's in a few hours, Flo. Who's going to look after Burger? Burger's the dog. That is so not cool. Did she up and decide to go on another last-minute cruise or something? Her uncle just died, Chris. And this is great here. Well, again, Fife playing with the medium a little bit, showing a foot in the mouth as this guy's kind of embarrassed about what he just said. We can cancel that trip, or I can make a call that I really don't want to make. So Flo ends up calling Sonia, ex-head of Copra, or current head of Copra. Flo is estranged from Copra because of some of the questionable things they've done. She had a falling out, but she's calling for help. And here we have the character Boomer, who is, again, inspired by Captain Boomerang. Sonia has more work for him to do. It's an easy transport gig, and my resident teleporting magician can't do it. She's AWOL. Everyone is AWOL. And I need this cargo moved. Even Castillo isn't back from his long weekend. Oh, he gotcha. Fine. Thank you. So he's going to take the job. But Boomer and Lloyd have had a falling out, and Lloyd has promised to kill Boomer, so there's some tension there about when they finally meet up again. And then Sonia's thinking, where is Castillo anyway? Well, if only she knew. And where's Copra? So here, Cobra Awakes, awakens the four members that were kidnapped, including sort of the two quasi-members, Zoe and Jacquio, and we have Guthy and Gracie. They're all strapped into these chairs, but they did not account for Gracie's incredible strength, and she snaps the restraints. So here we go. In this last panel on the page, we'll need all the help we can get to leave this place, wherever it is we are. Sure, as if he won't sell us out again. Look at me. Am I in any position to sell out? So they're debating on whether to free Jacquio or not, since they know that he turned on them in that previous fight. But they end up doing it anyway. And now they're kind of moving through various rooms and corridors in this place in complete darkness when they find Whir. So again, very kind of cool minimalist panels here with a lot of word balloons which are communicating the idea that they're moving in darkness. So not a lot of background, good use of the medium to communicate the situation of the characters. And they find Whir, whose name is Patrick. And it's unclear what sort of situation he's in, but they need to free him from it. And Gracie says, I'm half expecting alarms to go off now, as if we haven't set them off already. And then suddenly lights come on and it's revealed the situation, the dire situation they're in has been revealed. So they are in ARM headquarters. ARM is one of their groups of old groups of foes. They're a mostly cybernetic, augmented group of villainous characters. This is a little flashback to when Patrick Whir was working with his uncle to develop the power armor that right there, he is right there in his power armor. So the power armor that makes him who he is as a member of Copra. So here we are with this pretty cool setting of a laboratory, and we can see Patrick he had been shot in the arm earlier, and now his arm has been, something's happened to it. They've treated his wounds, it looks like, and stabilized him, but something more sinister is going on. Ah, much better. My name is Cress. Welcome. Tss, intruders. Tss. Cool use here of a little verbal tick to indicate how this very bizarre looking robotic character both moves and talks. Not intruders, guests. Looks like they've prematurely recovered from sedation. Admirable. I'll fix them with... Castillo interrupts. Hey, will you fix my face up already? This dangling skin is obnoxious. Dude, last time we talked, you had a tiny ass head. Stop complaining. Cress will dress him up right nice. Ain't gonna lie to you, Klaus. It'll be weird hanging out while you got another man's face on you. Yes, right, Bonehead, especially our old pal Castillo's. For this, I come back from the dead. So these guys, this group of foes, ARM, are kind of like the old X-Men, late 80s, early 90s Reavers characters who, they're the ones who battled the X-Men in the Australian outback and other places. They were the ones who crucified Wolverine on that very memorable cover. And they were connected to Donald Pierce of the Hellfire Club. So these characters are kind of loose inspirations from them. Very cool, scary, and creepy group of villains here. No worries, Klaus. I'll get to you soon enough. You have far more pressing matters than cosmetic inconvenience, no? So Klaus somehow invaded the cybernetic / robotic body of Castillo and drove Castillo's mind out or submerged it. So now their old foe Klaus is in Castillo's body. And that's why he betrayed them earlier. It wasn't Castillo, it was Klaus in Castillo's body. And he was a one-time partner of Zoe. You son of a bitch. Hey, don't blame me, darling. He was barely alive when I took over his body. Though it was me who caused him to get into an accident. So, I guess you can blame me. So this guy is an old associate of Copra, Danny Ceballos, and he is kind of I guess his Marvel equivalent would be Cameron Hodge, Angel's old business manager, and turned out to be one of the late 80s, early 90s X-Men's greatest foes. It's you, Copra. So, with half his body blown off, I was more than happy to work on his new aesthetic. Definitely an improvement. But I can somehow tell that you're still a shitbag, Danny, Gracie adds. No kidding, Guthy says. I think it's time to get out of your hair. Oh, do not move him. So Cress here, who's the master behind all this, the master engineer and mad scientist, also got some cool robotic stuff going on himself. He has made some pretty freakish alterations to Patrick here, and we're about to see that he is now part machine himself. Great reveal here as the cast bursts off. Patrick, what? Oh, damn. Put me down already, Jaquio says, because he's being suspended in the air by Ceballos using this tentacle. And we're about to see a very unfortunate thing as Whir's arm is under the control of Arm and Danny Ceballos. And he grabs. So he grabs, Patrick's robot arm grabs Jaquio's head and crush. And in a very grisly off-panel move here, he crushes his erstwhile ally's head. He obviously didn't want to. He's extremely freaked out by that. And now Guthy, who is Patrick's lover, is next on the list. And he's ordered to grab her head and crush. And so we're left on a very cool cliffhanger here. Next, escape from Arm. Another great thing about this issue, they have these cool, Fife did these cool almost who's who or Marvel handbook style pages for the characters, so you get a quick idea of not only what they look like, but what they can do and some background stuff. There's Guthy, my favorite character. Rax, probably my second favorite character. I'll just read his. Ex-cop from the city of Amrem. This is one black and white dude. Loyal, super stern, no sense of humor. Earthlings might describe him as a Taurus. Big fan of discipline and tradition. First thing he does when he wakes up is make the bed. It feeds his sense of order. Unfortunately, after a stint with Copra, Rax found himself imprisoned back on his home planet. Why? Who knows? His vest, illicit stolen goods. His arresting officer, the love of his life, his ex. His feelings of guilt, strong. About the vest, weapon, and then it's got this cool, FIFA uses this cool symbol whenever the vest is talked about in word balloons during a story. It's used here as well. Psychically linked to Rax, any form he imagines manifests as a force field. It doesn't always respond on command, though that has improved with practice. The vest is also physically attached to him. Rax can't take it off. That certainly doesn't help his tension. So yeah, we've got cool little shots here of all the main characters. And then another reason to seek this out, if you're interested in Copra and you want to try it out, you want to, dive in and try an independent book like this out. He has a great, Michel Piva includes a great summary of every issue of Copra up to this time. Now, since the 6-issue Image run, he has gone back to self-producing issues, and each one is a bespoke masterpiece of independent comic creation. They're really cool. And you can order them directly from him on his website or at your comic store. If you go through a comic store, they're actually available in distribution as well. But if you subscribe directly from him, you do get little extra perks. But these issue summaries, while brief, are fun and kind of give you an idea of the flow of what's gone before. And then the coconut meat skull is kind of a thing because the word copra actually refers to the meat of the coconut. So that's kind of a tagline here whenever he wants to talk to the fans or have a little extra material that you'll have the coconut meat skull show up. So we get a little preview of what's coming. And I just want to talk also briefly about the collections, which you can get from Image. This is an example of one of the Copra collections from Image. They're in what's called rounds. Each round collects 6 issues. So likely round 6, which I think is out or maybe coming out, will collect these Image issues 1 to 6. This is round 2. Now originally, these were published by Bergen Street Press. So you can see the difference between, on the right, the Bergen Street Press, on the left, the Image version. I prefer these Bergen Street Press versions. Both versions use non-glossy paper, which I love because I don't like glossy paper. Just much easier on the eye when you're reading under light, and I just like the tactile feel of non-glossy paper. But the Bergen Street Press versions, which are no longer in print, but you can find online, like I got this one on eBay, they have this cool flap and very interesting kind of extended end paper feel almost. And the paper itself has a little more textured than the paper in the Image version. And you can see it's actually physically maybe a 1/4 of an inch shorter. Doesn't really affect the presentation of the art at all. But those are available if you can find them. These you should be the Image versions should be readily available through your comic store or online. The Bergen Street Press, you're probably going to have to go into the aftermarket to get because they're not available any longer. One other thing just came out. It's actually too big for my camera, really, when you think about it, is the new Copra Master Collection, which collects the first 12 issues of Copra. So if you don't want to go with the Image rounds for the first 2, you can get this, or you can get this in addition. My only complaint on this is glossy paper. Don't like glossy paper, but it's really great to see the art at this larger size. And you definitely get a good feel for the energy that FIFA is bringing with every page. Just oozing with character and violence and love. I mean, you can see the love on every page. Every page is an experiment in comics creation. And sometimes the visual language that Michel FIFA uses can be inscrutable. But for me, that actually informs rereading. It makes rereading the comics better because I'll pick things up that I missed before. And that is, for me, a huge a huge feature, not a bug. I really enjoy the density, the strangeness, the challenging nature of sometimes the way the material is presented. And he's just a fantastic fight choreographer and action choreographer. And his figure work is really cool and funky. And again, if you've never really tried an independent superhero comic, Copra is one that is well worth looking into. Pick up round 1 from Image, track down one of these issues, ideally number 1 of the Image, the 6-issue Image run, and give it a shot. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think this is something that is so much fun. It's the one new quote unquote new comic that I look forward to when it does come out. It comes out probably once every 2 or 3 months. He'll publish a brand new issue, and then those issues will eventually be collected. So yeah, that was Cobra number 1 from Image Comics. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and I will bring you more soon. Thanks. This has been Scott Reads Comics.